In this video, I'm talking about Amazon Connect rules. Amazon Connect rules are automated actions that the platforms performs, right, based on certain conditions that you define. So, pretty much what Amazon Connect rules does is when a certain activity or a certain condition is met, that is a condition that you kind of specify is met, a certain activity happens, right? So, in your Amazon Connect, you're able to set up some of these rules. So all that you do is you log in into your Amazon Connect instance and then just come to analytics and optimization and you see rules and then you come. Under rules, there are two key things, rules and then word collections. Word collections, as I said, because rules are based off certain condition and certain activities that you define, you can have a certain group of words, right, that you want to get triggered. That's, for example, if someone calls your contact center and says an insensitive word, a harsh word or something, you want to say probably notify an agent. You want to probably create a task, create a case, do something, communicate something, send an email. You can do all that. And in a group of those words, right, that you can probably reuse are what we call the word collections. So you can create your own word collections that are pretty much groups of words that kind of represent something. So if I show you this one, you realize that these are all phrases and words that comes into being. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to create a rule. So to create a rule, there are different forms, right? You can create a rule based off certain events. So say when a new case is created, when a case is updated, when an SLA is breached, or during conversational analytics, right? Your real-time analytics and stuff. For this quick demo, I'm going to show you how to do that using the real-time call analytics, right? That's the conversational analytics real-time call. So I'm going to create a rule, and then what I want my rule to do is represent the conversational analytics. The event source is going to be real-time call analysis available, right? So during a real-time call, that's what I want to do. So whilst creating a rule, you're able to define the conditions, right? You can add multiple conditions, and then if you want all of them to happen before the rule is triggered, you can define that. Or if you want any, you can do that. For this demo, I'm going to select any, and then I'm going to do word phrases, right? So when someone says a word that is similar to this, trigger it. So where say when someone calls my call center and then mention the word, say abusive, right? Or the person says absent, or it could be any words, right? I want to trigger that. Or if I have phrases that I want to kind of match a pattern, I can also come in and then very abusive, right? Let me do absence again. So these are just collection of words, and then I'll click on next. So once I click on next, you see Connect is asking me for a category. Category allows you to kind of visualize this on the admin dashboard, a grouping when this thing happens. So I want to call my category insensitive, right? So this is just a word that I'm using. And then I can define an action, right? As I said with rules, when these conditions are met, when someone comes in and says absent, what actions do I want to perform? I can either do this, create a task, generate an event bridge that I can proceed to invoke a Lambda function, or I can even send an email notification. So for now, I'm going to test with tasks, right? So let me just give it a description as this is my test. And then once you are creating a task, please note this, you would have to create a flow, right? That gets pointed to by this. This is pretty much your task flow, right? That is when you trigger the task, which flow should this point to for it to go to agents? That's where you configure your logic. I think I should have something small or similar down here that I can quickly walk you through, or I can quickly create one. Yeah, I should have something for my task. Let me search for task, and then I can quickly walk you through. This is just a simple inbound flow, so nothing fancy. Yeah, so inside the flow, all that I'm doing is, I think I had this flow for something. So all that I'm doing is, I have set my login as I do always, and then I'm inviting a customer queue flow. This is very important because if, for example, when people call in from a different line, which has a different customer queue experience, which doesn't handle this, and then your tax is going through that can mismatch the experience. I think that's the purpose why I have a customer queue here, so that you know that, oh, all my tasks go through this specific customer queue flow, or you can handle that experience in your own customer queue flow logic too. So I'm doing that, and then I'm setting some queues. So I have the queue name, the call queue name, and then I think I have it multiple times in here. This is coming as user defined attributes, which probably setting somewhere in my other flow, my inbound flow. So once that comes in, I'm checking the condition, and then I'm setting to working queue, transferring to queue, and then that's it. So for you that you are building, all that you need is pretty much your set working queue and transfer to queue block, right? Or if you want to check my logic, with me, what I'm saying is when the call comes into my contact center, I'm checking the queue, and then based off the queue the call came in from, right, which is stored in this attribute, I want to then branch to a working queue, then my task will go in there. So this is pretty much it. So now back to my rules. I'm going to select this flow. Let me scroll if I'll see it. Yeah, I think this is the flow. And then I'll click on next. So this is just pretty much a summary of it. So if these conditions are met, this is the action that I want to happen. So I'll click on publish. Oops, they said this rule name already exists, right? So let me give this rule, because the name already exists, what can I do? Let me just go back and then edit it. So let me call it abusive, right? Abusive. So next, and now save and publish. So yeah, so now this is my rule, and then it's also creating task, and then it's doing this. So what I'm going to do is to give a test call to one of my inbound flow, and I think that flow, I have a tutorial on that. It kind of shows how to build a callback experience. So if you are new and then you don't have a flow and then you want to check that out, you can look at that video. It's a very simple inbound flow. You call in there, you see how callback is configured, and then do some few stuff in there. You can check it out. But for now, I'm just going to test my line and then possibly receive a phone call. And then I'll use some of the words I mentioned, right?
Hello.
Sorry, let me place that call again.
Hello, welcome to Tech with Kobina. Your current position in queue is 1 and you are expected to wait in queue for
Basic
0
queue.
minutes.
Okay, hello. So I've been dealing with this guy, and then the person is very insensitive. Yeah, the guy is very insensitive and abusive, and then he has been absent for some time. So as you guys can see, this is a task coming in, right? I had my agent workspace open somewhere else, so that's why this came in real quick. So as you can see, I have this, and I think I had multiple instances opened. Okay, so accept. Yeah, I had multiple tags opened, and then I tried it multiple times too. Okay, so this is what is happening, right? So the task came in after doing all this. One key thing I want you to know, if you are testing this out, ensure, I think I'm using the same routing profile and then the same thing, since I'm the same person calling and then recording, that's why some of these things are complete. But this is pretty much how you configure your rules, right? Yeah, so if you are testing out, please ensure you have your routing profiles and everything set correctly. I think in this account I have just the basic routing profile, and then yeah, ensure you have your task and everything enabled for the queues you are testing in, and then everything. So this is pretty much how to configure your rules and then do whatever you want to do. Once some of these things are triggered, if the customer, if the supervisor or something wants to see, they can simply come to your dashboard and reports, right? On the dashboard and reports, and when you come to conversational analytics, remember when we were creating, we did that. we're able to see, if I come to categories and then I filter, say by categories, I can select abusive, and then I think the data is taking a little while to do that. Or insensitive. I think the insensitive too is pretty much the same rule. So that's what is happening. 15 minutes. Let me do. Okay, I had a couple of them coming in. Yeah, I had a couple of them coming. So real time, you're able to access your dashboard and see those data in here also. So this is how you pretty much configure rules. So for example, if you want to send an email, right? If I wanted to send an email and then I come to my abusive stuff. Sorry, my network is a bit slow. So that's why. So if I come to say it was under the real time something that you were creating. So if I come to abusive and then I want to adjust and add a different action. If I want to send an email, I just come to email, send email notification, the two recipients. If I want it to go to a customer and all that, you're able to select them, modify it. If you want to say add a particular attribute, you just do the add, and then you can select all those details. And then if you want to probably route to different queues, as I was doing the task to go to a different queues, you just have a simple flow like this. You set your working queue. If you have certain attributes you want to check, as in my case, you just set them and then you route them. But the most important bit is this piece. So this is how you easily create rules and then you set them as tags and then you transfer them to an agent. You can play with them. If you have any questions, kindly do what to drop them in the comment section. And then let's meet in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.